This seems to be confusing me.
What's confusing? It says the marginal cost intersects either the total cost or the marginal cost curve at the minimum of the total cost or the marginal cost curve. Well, to begin with, the marginal cost curve can't intersect the marginal cost curve. It's just the same curve. It gotta be total cost in both cases. Right? Because clearly, you know, a curve can't intersect itself. Yes, sir.
So I get my midterm back.
Did I get a midterm for you? I don't have a midterm for you. You emailed it to me.
No, I left it for you. That's when the same day with Miss Dean.
Oh,
And I
okay.
think I should you an email and tell you that I actually left it with.
All right. No, that's in my work folder. So I'll bring it on Wednesday, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That didn't go into my school work. What about question 2?
Hold on, Mr. Tamara.
Mm-hmm.
What is the answer for number 1? B. No, for real.
Stop eating chicken sandwiches.
Pea soup. What is the answer?
The answer was B.
The answer is B.
B, total.
Because the marginal cost curve can't intersect itself. No line can cross itself. So the marginal cost curve cannot intersect the marginal cost curve at the minimum of the marginal cost curve. It has to intersect the total cost curve at the minimum of the total cost curve. All right. Assume that a straw vendor enterprise has an average variable cost of 24. What should firm do if the market price is 32?
Increase production.
Why?
Production as in, I think it would increase the
Market price is
price.
higher than the variable cost.
They should increase the price.
You're guessing, or you have some actual rationale? All right. The way I would look at this looks like market structure. Remember, when we were doing market structure, particularly when we were doing the margin, we're doing board. Board looks so clean now. I think we've done this more than a few times. Here's our demand curve, average revenue curve, marginal revenue curve, marginal cost curve. Yes? Does that help? So if we end up with marginal revenue equals marginal cost, marginal revenue and marginal cost curve here. All right. And the question says this obviously is our price of what, 32?
Market price is
32, yeah.
Market price is 32 and what is that, the variable?
cost is 24.
Oh, so this is not there, this is here. And variable cost of What should it do? What should they do?
Increase production.
Why?
You didn't say up below the market price, and you would wanna make more money if you can, I guess.
Because right now, whatever they're producing, they're making at least $8 profit, right? So every additional unit they produce and sell, they make an additional $8. So shouldn't they continue production? In fact, what is offered to us, they certainly shouldn't shut down, should maintain the same level of production. They shouldn't reduce, increase production. All right, what about the other one? Variable cost of 24, market price of 16.
Reduce production.
Reduce production. All right, and 4,
Maintain the same level of production.
because right now you squeeze every bit of money you can get out of the market. So, for questions, certainly 2, 3, and 4, you're not gonna have all 3 of those, but you're gonna have very similar questions which says, here's my average cost and here's my average revenue. What do I do if one is higher than the other? Or what do I do if one is lower than the other? Or what do I do if they're equal to each other? So, you have an income elasticity demand, EFD of 1 for whipped cream. What can you say about this product?
Is income elasticity absolute in terms of the
What do you mean absolute?
absolute value?
Yes. No.
No?
No. It's only elasticity demand, elasticity supply.
Okay.
Hold on, what was the answer for number 4?
See,
See?
See,
Okay, just making sure.
So, income elasticity demand. Remember now, for income elasticity and for cross price elasticity, the negative sign is important.
yeah, because it determines whether it's a substitute or a complement.
Right. For cross price elasticity, it tells you whether the product is a substitute or complement. For income elasticity, it tells you whether it's a normal good or a non-normal good.
Okay.
So if you have a -1, what does it say?
no, normally, I guess I'm not, because I can't remember.
Yeah, I like to look at it.
All right. Remember what the negative sign always says, the two things go in opposite directions, right? So if the two things we're looking at is income and demand, this says income goes up, but demand goes down. Or income goes down, but demand goes up. What kind of good would that be?
It's not normally.
You're asking or telling me?
I'm telling you, I guess. See?
You're telling me you guess.
Income,
It's a negative.
because it's
In terms of
a
income
negative
elasticity.
income
I mean, that's what I would.
indicates that as our income rises, demand for the goods fall, and as our income falls, demand for the goods rises, therefore, the good question is an inferior good
Or
or
non-normal.
non-normal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Inferior good, yeah. Yep. So it's E.
All right, fine. Question 6 then.
Given.
Given- A, yes. Given cross price elasticity for CDs relative to books of 1, +1, what can we say about the type of product CDs are compared to books?
Substitutes.
No.
Hold on, let me see, let me read it again.
Of 1?
Of 1.
Mercedes and a substitute for books.
Mm-hmm. And I said, no.
And he's.
Oh, I need to come up front.
What?
She ain't had a big no.
No, I didn't.
Probably a perfect
I
substitute
really
for
got
books,
the right answer.
Because one is perfect, one is eight. I mean, six is
Perfect
eight.
makes a difference.
Absolutely.
The
Perfect
does.
substitute. The one says you exchange them 1 to 1.
I saw that.
Number, I mean, page 28. I don't know if this, I don't on this page too, but that's crossed by classes.
What if it was -1?
It'd be a compliment.
No.
No.
Perfect compliment.
Don't be lazy. Lazy costs you points. Because you will get a question like this, and the question will have both substitute and perfect substitute in it. And those were your easy 6 points. Okay, so 7 to 13, no, 7 through 10, I guess.
We have answer 6? What 6 was?
6 is
Perfect
eight.
substitute.
Perfect substitute.
So, Janice Jupp is willing to spend $1,300 on a single pair of Manola Blahnik pumps. Also in this market, No Name, No Blame Shoes is willing to supply a single pair of these shoes for as little as $100. The market price for these shoes is $300, and at this price, quantity demanded is 51 pairs. So far, so good. Which Janice consumer surplus? It'll be 1,300 minus 300, and it's only one pair of shoes, so it's $1,000. Consumer surplus for the entire market will be A and B. Yes?
What?
It'll be the area Janice
Half the
owned.
base,
I don't
half the
understand the
something.
answer. Yeah. How much people it is? 50.
So it'll be 5 times 50.
51.
It's half the base times the height.
So 26,000. I work that out. Half the base.
So we know Janice is 1,000, that's A, and B is half of 51 minus 1 is 50, half of 50 is 25, 25 times 1,000.
Is 25,000.
So 25,000.
Plus 1,000 is 26.
Yeah, because what's the odd there?
So it was
Janice surplus.
Oh, yeah, okay, I remember, that's why I put the 25,000 there,
It's actually 26,
but
right?
it's actually 26. Mr. Curtis, you look lost.
I remember doing it for the midterm, but I mean, I know particularly with the calculator, and I can remember, I know it's a half.
Half the base times the height,
But I remember
the area for
the
triangle.
notes had something where you took one off, and you
Oh,
multiply.
okay, so if you look at, we said 51 pairs of shoes is demanded in this market. We see that, right? But Janice is taking up one pair by herself. So it's Janice one pair plus 50 by everybody else. That gets you total 51. Right? So if we're calculating consumer surplus, we calculate Janice's consumer surplus, which is her one pair of shoes and how much she was willing to pay and how much she had to pay. She's willing to pay 1,300, but only had to pay 300. So she ended up actually saving $1,000. Right? So that's her 1,000. So we put that aside for her. Now we need, what about everybody else? Well, everybody else is the area of that triangle that we have listed as B. Right? So to calculate the area of a triangle is half the base times the height. Well, the base of that triangle is only 50, it's not 51 because Janice already took her one. So it'll be 50, so half of 50, which is 25, times 1,300 minus 300. The height of that triangle is 1,000. The base of that triangle is 50. The area of the triangle is half the base times the height. I can't remember which page it's on, let's try to find the page. Page 24.
They're gonna have any marginal utility?
125.
Of
Or
course.
basically, are we, is our final going to be like a copy of this or?
Give me a copy of this. This is
Like
the format for the
basically-
final, but this
Yeah.
is not the final.
So like how we did, remember the graph for homework 4, we had to fill in the total cost.
The
average.
tables?
Yeah,
Oh, no. That's
Okay.
too easy.
Tedious.
Yeah, no.
oh, too easy?
That's of course. What, y'all didn't find that table easy?
That's
Everybody
true.
else seemed like got it all. The only people I see screw up is when y'all put 0 in instead of not applicable.
Oh,
That's
we
the same
supposed to
thing.
put undefined.
Yes.
That's 0 in the line of zero.
No, absolutely positively not. Never, and has never been. 0 is a number.
We don't wanna do that no more. I don't wanna do that.
I was wondering,
Let's scratch that right now.
so the marginal
No,
utility.
see, that requires no thinking. That's
What?
just, you have the formula, you work the formula, you go with your business.
I don't wanna do that.
The marginal utility and total utility, no?
No.
Nothing to do with
Mm-mm. Oh, you mean where?
Well, you have to put in the information.
Total consumption and all of that. Cause that was in the midterm.
Maybe. I don't see it on this one. You mean where,
It was on the midterm.
What
like
the
how,
hell you
like
talking
how,
about?
how we did the cookies and
Yeah,
Oh, that is.
yeah.
the marginal
Possible.
utility,
The cookies and the muffins without the milk?
yeah, total consumption and all that.
Maybe, that does require a little bit of thinking.
That last one get me on that.
Yeah, anything that requires, just pure calculation probably won't be there.
Oh my goodness.
All right, so can we do 9?
Okay,
So we got 7 and 8. Janice's consumer surplus was 1,000, and consumer surplus for the entire market was 26. Janice 1,000 plus 25,000 for the rest, for everybody else. So 8 was D, 7 was D as well. 9, no name, no blame, producer surplus. So they're willing to sell at 100, but the market says they can charge as much as 300, so they end up saving $200. So 9 would be B. Is that 3 B's? No, that's D, D, and B.
For the exam, can we bring like a formula page in terms of how to remember how to calculate these things? In terms of the steps and stuff, because I know this particular thing don't come on formula page.
No, because this is not a formula I ever taught in this class. This is a formula that you would have been taught in high school. So I would give you all the formulas that I thought were new to you. Boy. All right, I'll have to see what I can do. In any case, I'll produce a formula page, and how's that? I normally produce a formula page, but I didn't think I would need to include this formula, but, yeah. I'll go through the exam and see what formulas I have to put on the formula page. And finally, question 10, the producer surplus for the entire market.
C.
It'd be, no name, no blame, they're 200, plus the rest of the market, which would be
5,000.
25 times 200, 25, which is what, 5,000? So you end up with 5,200.
Yeah.
Fine. Question 11. When an economist computes the cost for the firm, the cost he determines is best known as this may be easy if you want to do question 12 first.
12.
Yes. When an accountant computes the cost for the firm, the cost he determines is best known as,
Explicit costs.
Oh.
so that makes number 11, economist, economic costs.
That's what I was thinking the same thing.
Remember, our economic cost is both our explicit cost plus our opportunity costs. Nice, let's see, where's the page?
Yeah.
You have the number, okay, I never seen it yet.
Really? Let's go to our costs. There you go, 33. Okay, question 13. Dominant strategy can only occur in what kind of market?
Monopoly?
See?
Mm-mm.
Monopoly.
Mm-mm.
You say dominant strategy?
Mm-mm. This is the tit for tat, and, you kill my dog, I kill your cat, the price wars, the prisoner's dilemma.
I'm gonna say B, but I'm sure B or C.
And you'd be wrong in both cases.
Yeah.
None of the above.
D? So you think we're like,
I know. I didn't say D, tell me
No, you said D?
she said D, that's what I think.
But D was the first thing I said.
Okay, I didn't know you. Yeah.
Okay, D for
I
dog.
you give me, I don't know that was free.
But why is it D?
Huh?
Why D? We're talking now page 40, 44, 45. No, 46. 47? Yes. Hmm. 46.
Yeah, 47.
I see a notable
You talking about oligopoly?
an oligopoly firm maximizes profits.
What page you on?
44 to the bottom. By producing when marginal revenue equals marginal costs.
Uh-huh. But that's not a dominant strategy. But that's for every type of firm. You should produce where marginal revenue equals marginal cost.
Ah.
Okay.
All right, page 47. Just before prisoner's dilemma. It's one line before prisoner's dilemma.
Dominant strategy is the most likely choice any firm will make regardless of choice made by its competitor.
And all of this occurs only under a oligopoly, everything we've been talking about. From game theory, prisoner's dilemma, retaliation strategies, all of those are oligopolies when you are in a interdependent situation.
So it's D.
It's D. Good question 14. A perfectly competitive market has the following features except. A perfectly competitive market doesn't have a unique product.
Yes, it does.
I would say D.
Does it have natural or legal barriers to entry? Does it have one dominant supplier?
I would say C.
Does it have total control over the price? Okay, so what do we call a perfectly competitive market? Right, it's the one like what's up on the board. All right. So this is our farmer. This is our stock market. All right. Do they have a unique product? They don't. I'm selling wheat, my neighbor's selling wheat, the guy down the road selling wheat, the one across the county selling wheat. No unique product. Are there any natural or legal barriers to entry?
I think the answer is,
He say features
I
except,
think
I think that's a D.
D says total control over the price. All right, so we know they don't have, okay, this is, let's see.
I don't.
They don't.
You don't have to read A, because they say except, so that's only one, which would be the rest
Oh.
is.
All right, perfect competition is page 37.
37.
That's 39.
No, 37.
All right, 38.
38. At the top.
Large number of firms, so no individual firm can influence the price. Firms are price takers. So that automatically scratched, so D is a possibility as an answer, right? One dominant supplier, no, because it says large number of firms. So,
can't be one, it's one.
easy entrance and exit to the market, so no natural or legal barriers to entry. Standardized products, no unique product.
Let's say except though, this question.
Total control over the price.
Oh, I see what happened here.
Mm-hmm.
It should not be none of the above, it should be
All
all.
of the above. Mm-mm.
All of the above are exceptions. Because a perfectly competitive market doesn't have a unique product. It doesn't have barriers to entry. It doesn't have a dominant supplier. It doesn't have control over the price, so all of them.
That would have been a point for us.
I know, right?
You wouldn't be getting, you wouldn't be getting this exact, this is 2017.
No, I'm just saying, if you
Just
gave
don't
us a
make that mistake
question,
on us.
it would be a point for us.
He would just be ticking.
Anyhow, fine.
E.
15.
All of the above.
Consider a firm which produces 250 units and whose cost function looks like that. The firm average total cost is what? How do you find the average total cost? If Ms. Seymour would go to her table,
Average total cost is,
Total
Average
cost
total
divided by
cost,
Q,
total
right?
cost divided by quantity.
okay, so how do you find the total cost? Okay, do we know what Q is?
250.
250.
All right, so we know Q is 250. So we now need our total cost. How do you find the total cost?
Variable cost plus fixed cost. What do you have cost with? 1,050.
We have a formula,
Yeah,
cost
that
formula.
one. Mhm.
So could we just plug that 250
Total
into that?
variable cost
That's what I
plus
was
total
going to
fixed
do.
cost.
That's what I was initially going to do.
Plus 1,000 would be 6. I said none of the above, that's right, yeah. I get 20 times
6,000.
50. I see no
With 20 times 250,
5,000.
Plus 1,000.
that's 6,000.
6,000.
And with 6,000 divided by 250.
$24. Oh, okay.
Mm.
Yes? No? This would have been a lot easier if it was in one of your quantitative questions, where you have to just find, like, what we did last class or the class before you, where you have your functions. Then you know, okay, this is what I do. But seeing it in this kind of format, you begin to doubt yourself. Sorry. No, I'm not really sorry. But, no. All right, fine. 16. The level of output that would maximize total profits for the firm is that level of output at which why do y'all keep putting a question mark at the end of your answers? It's like you're asking me instead of telling me.
Yeah, C.
It's E?
C.
Marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. We've said that a lot. Some of the rest of those look good, eh? That average revenue and average cost one. That looks like that almost could be possibly maybe right. Oh, you don't remember when we're doing the same stuff on the board here? Up on the board, when we're doing perfectly competitive market?
Yeah, but not the total profit, so when you maximize it.
Yeah, but the thing is, I know students, y'all have heard average revenue and average cost, and y'all had okay, a perfectly elastic demand curve. Does it have elasticity coefficient greater than unity? No, because a perfectly elastic demand curve has elasticity of 1.
It's probably C, perhaps
I
as a
understand
parallel to the
the
vertical
vertical
axis.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's horizontal.
Yes, it's vertical C.
It's vertically.
I think
You have the justice swing you.
Horizontal.
And it's horizontal.
Hold on, let me see.
This is
Oh.
horizontal, this is on the
Axis.
side.
Page 18.
Parallel
Huh?
to the
Just like
horizontal
we have to go
axis.
I don't remember horizontal now.
That's page 18.
Vertical
No,
is
that was
down though.
18.
Page 15, no. Page,
Don't worry, it's not that same problem.
oh, page 9.
9,
9.
8,
8? Okay.
horizontal.
Don't get that stuck in your head.
Hmm?
She's gonna get vertical stuck in her head, so we just need a game.
I get horizontal, it's like in my ear. I'm trying to
It is
remember which one is
horizontal.
which.
Remember that on the midterm?
Yeah, I remember that being.
That's
I remember that too.
remember.
That's also
I
when I go.
I can remember which one is horizontal and vertical.
I don't normally, but because you already have yours, I remember it.
Alright, so the answer is D. Graphs as a line to the parallel to the horizontal axis. Other things being equal, if price change causes total revenue to remain unchanged, what can we say about demand?
Hey, let me see, let me read it properly first, then respond.
That would be a good idea.
I said A.
Of units,
I don't know.
It was on me,
I don't agree.
60 and C.
What? Oh, 16.
Revenue? I don't remember reading.
If revenue is unchanged, then it's
Unit.
unit elastic.
I think it's A.
So of unit elasticity?
Yeah.
3 out of 5, we could say unit elastic.
I say A.
Alright, then we'll go with of unit elasticity. This is where E of D is equal to 1. Marginal profit can best be described as a small change in profit caused by a small change in revenue, small change in profit caused by a small change in output, small change in profit caused by a small change in cost, marginal cost minus marginal revenue, none of the above. What's our formula for marginal profit?
MC take away MR.
Okay, MC minus MR. You sure? No,
It's R take away C.
it's MR minus MC.
Yeah. R take away C, so that's.
That's why we have MC minus MR on here, for people like you.
She'd have been circling away.
I telling
Hey,
you,
Zoom.
like, whoa, that's
On
an
to the
easy,
next
that's an
question.
easy one.
That was quick.
Say that again, Mr. Demerit, what is it?
MR minus MC.
I know, but then what's the difference?
What you mean?
What you mean, what's the difference? It's the difference.
One is gonna give you a positive value, one's gonna give you a negative value.
Okay.
It's the difference between 10 minus 9 and 9 minus 10.
You're right. I just really thought I had that one in the bag.
Long and strong.
All right, so
Yeah.
we don't think it's D.
See, I don't know.
Possibly A. You know, that's pretty sure of this one.
What's our definition, our word definition of marginal profit?
Oh. The additional profit earned by the firm from the sale of one or more unit of output.
Okay, so does any of that talk about revenue? What you just
No.
read?
Talk about
Does any of that talk about cost that you just read?
output.
So then we can scratch out A and scratch out C, we already eliminate D. So it's only either B or none of the above. And you just said,
It's the,
According to the definition.
yeah.
change in profit caused by a small change in output.
A decrease in consumers' income is most likely to cause the economy to.
All right, fine, question 20. What? And we've been at this an hour.
Question 24 is C.
A decrease in consumers' income is most likely to cause the budget line to do what?
Shift and work.
Shift and what?
I know that one right, the shift. You know that right?
Okay. C then.
What?
Which of the following is not a property of the indifference curve? Is it downward sloping?
Yes.
It's C,
It's
ha ha, because it's supposed to be greater satisfaction.
I saw you try to trick us on that.
Yes.
In different
Yes.
curves.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, it is.
All right,
Just
so
that one word.
That's
Gotcha.
a greater.
It's
You
supposed to
don't
be
Yeah,
know?
it's
represent
like
greater
gotcha.
satisfaction.
You wouldn't know, you wouldn't.
all right, question 22 then. So the answer for 21 is C. Given a diagram on the other page, if we assume lines AB
See, that's a pretty strong,
Mhm.
and CE are parallel, the move from point O, which is on our AB line,
So what?
to Q, which is on our CD line, one possibility will be,
Income rules.
The price of chickens fell and the price of, no, D, the price of chicken, no, hold on. Let me read.
Income rules.
all
It's
right.
parallel.
So we know they can't go in different directions. The count of the chicken if the line moved parallel.
No, they lied.
So either they both went up or they both went down or our income changed in some way. All right, so the price of count rose, then the price of chicken fell. No. The price of chicken fell and the price of count rose. No. The price of chicken rose and the price of count fell. No. Income rose. That would cause a shift out symmetrically. All right, fine, let's go back to our diagram. Given the diagram below, if we assume A, B, and CE are still parallel, the move from Q, which is on our CE line, to P, which is on our AE line, one possibility will be
The price of conch rose.
that would cause that curve to shift downward, because we can buy less conch. Any other possibility? No, because chicken and move. So anything with chicken wouldn't fit. No,
A.
price of conch went up.
You don't need a price of
What is
conch.
number 22?
Income went up. All right, fine. Now, that should be questions 20 and 26, not 20 to 22. At what point will demand fall to 0?
23 is A.
Sorry, we're good?
Mhm.
22 is B, 23 is A. So, at what price would demand fall to zero? So we have our demand equation. QD equals 2,000 minus 25P. And at what price would demand fall to zero? We stick zero where demand is, yes?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so put 0 equals 2,000 minus 25P. Move my price over, because I like my price to be positive. 25P equals 2,000. So P equals 2,000 divided by 25, which is what?
80 B.
Yeah, okay, back in all subjects I like so much.
That's a maximum price in there,
So, 25 then. What is the maximum price to the nearest dollar that can be charged and still sell at least 51 items?
This was an issue on the midterm.
B.
B.
All right, so we do it exactly the same way. They say 51, so we put 51 equals 2,000 minus 25P. Make my price positive, so move my 25P over, equals 2,000 minus 51. So 25P, what's 2,000 minus 51? 1,949. All right,
divided by 25.
so you divide that by 25.
77.96.
So
So then that's all, it could be 77 or
77.96.
But you gotta work
That's
it
what you
out.
got?
Yeah, it works out to 77.96.
Now, what do we say?
To the nearest dollar.
Yes, and what do we always say about this kind of question?
You have to test it to make sure.
You have to put it inside the,
Equation, you have to substitute it.
yeah. You have to put
Okay, that's-
77.
That would be the
and
hard
then
way, it'd be the
78.
sure way, but we always say you can't ever, never go up.
You can never ever go up.
Because, okay, we know the law of demand says if price goes up, demand goes down. At a price of $77.96, demand is 51 units. Right? So what if we go up to $78? Will demand not fall below 51 units?
So that's a 77.
We know we cannot, we need to sell at least 51. So we, although that we're very close to 78, we can't go to 78.
77.
What if 77 wasn't there?
That would be none of the above.
No,
76.
it'd be 76. Because you could always go lower.
Well,
Even if the next number was 5.
So minus 77?
Okay.
No, the answer, the correct answer is 77.
Oh,
I
I
said,
thought it
if
was
77 wasn't an option,
Then it would be 77.
or whatever is the
Well,
next
six,
next
but not-
number.
Not up.
Right. However low you need to go, fine, but you can't go up. Because I have given this question where, the answer was considerably lower than 77.96. Fine. How do you find P star and Q star?
Number 7
QD
equals each
equal
other.
QF.
Alright, so you have 2,000 minus 25P equal to 300 plus 25P, right? QD equal to QS?
Yeah.
Since I like my prices to be positive, I'll collect all my 25Ps on the right-hand side. So I'm going to put 2,000 minus 300 equals 25P, and bring the other 25P over. So I have it with 1,700 equals 50P.
P is 34.
Therefore, P is equal to 34.
Price and quantity, so 25.
So you have to put that inside. That's 25.
1150.
We got 34 for price.
C.
So if that's the case, then we know we can immediately eliminate D and immediately eliminate B, because they say 43, not 34. So then we only need to test A and C. So we take out 34, stick it into one of our equations, and what did we get?
1150.
1150.
You didn't get 1050?
No.
You sure?
Positive.
Answer C.
All right, if you're positive. can't trick y'all with math. English, yeah, but math, no.
What is that?
All right. Suppose the cross price elasticity of demand for pencils relative to rulers. So that E of PR is 4.0. And the price of rulers goes up by 8%. What can we say like that demand for pencils? So E of P and R must be the percentage change in quantity of what?
Quantity of rulers.
Yeah.
It's E of P and R. It's cross price elasticity of pencils to rulers. So it's E of P of R.
Alright, go to the bottom, right?
Sorry?
Percentage change in the quantity of P.
The first one is always the quantity. The second one is always the price. So it's the cross price elasticity of quantity of pencils to price of rulers. Alright, so quantity of pencils we have is what? We don't know. We say the price of rulers is 8%, which is 0.08. Yes?
So that's.
How you got to read this one? This one again?
Cross price
E
elasticity
is 4.0.
is
So it's 32%.
cross price elasticity of whatever they give you the first one,
PR.
pencils to rulers, would be the percentage change in the quantity of pencils over the percentage change in the price of rulers. This first one is always the quantity, this one is always the price. And the question will tell you pencils to rulers. If they were said rulers to pencils, it'll be the reverse. All right. And they said this is 4.0. They asked us to find what happened to the quantity of pencils. The price of
0.08.
rulers, is that the case? Was 0.08. Okay, so we ended up at 4.0 times 0.08 equals percentage change in the quantity of pencils. This looks like what, 0.32?
Yeah, that's 32%.
Which is 30.
32%, that's D.
We didn't run across any negative signs, did we?
No, because it was increase.
No, because price of
Increase.
increased.
Okay,
So no.
all right, so we're all good then. So it's an increase. Fine. When the price of cereal rises from $4.75 to $5.10, quantity demand falls, that's supposed to be falls or fell, from 1,500 to 1,465. When the price of Quaker oats rises from 220 to 235, quantity demand falls from 1,275 to 1,200. Calculate cross price elasticity demand of cereal to oats. Oh, I think it's the last class I don't discuss. So you have cross price elasticity demand cereal to oats. So it's ECO, which is percentage change in the quantity of cereal,
Over the percentage
percentage
price.
change in the price of oats. Yes?
Yes.
All right. And look like a bunch of Q's and P's.
So you could do the long.
W is a long way down.
Okay, so it's a long way. Fine. I'll write with you guys. Let me get some paper. Here's where the real exam begins.
And it's a no. Alright.
EFCO, percentage change, and QCO, percentage change, PO. So I need Q0 of cereal, I need Q1 of cereal, I need P0 of oats, and I need P1 of oats. Yes, that looks right. So this will be, listen, you guys should be, I should be doing this. It should be Q1 minus Q0 divided by Q0 plus Q1 over 2. And all of that is cereal stuff, yes? I would do it on the board, except the people give me no way of cleaning the board. Yeah. And although I'm somebody's favorite teacher,
You are.
all right, so this is E of what it is? Cereal and oats? ECO, percentage change in the quantity of cereal over the percentage change in the price of oats. All right, so this will be Q1 minus Q0 divided by Q0 plus Q1 over 2, and all of these are cereals. All right? And P1 minus P0 divided by P0 plus P1 over 2, and all of these are oats. Yes? All right, so we just plug and chug then. What's Q1 for cereal?
1465.
You sure?
Cereal is
From 1500 to 1465.
From 50, okay, so 1,500 divided by 1,500 plus 1465 over 2. And what's the new price for oats?
235.
235 minus, what's the old price?
220.
220 divided by 220 plus 235 over 2. All right, fine. 14, this is minus 35? Minus 35 divided by, what's that? That's like, what, 1487 and a half?
1482.5.
1482.5, 1482.5.
You want to check it?
We'll find out when we get to the answer in a second. 235 minus 220 is 0.15 divided by, that looks like what? 220, 228?
Yeah, 228 if you round it off.
No, I'm rounding.
2.275 then.
You see that answer look like 4 decimal places on the answer, right? Okay. 35 divided by 1482.5.
Minus 0.0236.
And 0.15 divided by 2.275.
0.0659.
All right, and we end up with a negative, of course.
0.0236 divided by 0.0659. Negative 0.3581.
And is that any close to our answer?
Oh, we have one.
Compliments.
Well, it depends, a negative is a compliment.
All right, so it's negative, so it's a complement. And so, we got the number right, negative 3581. So it's either we think A or D, yes?
it have to be D.
So, negative indicates is positive, or your compliments, definitely.
Negative is compliments. One of those things I think we want to practice.
Definitely.
All right, so question 29. Given our demand curve, QD equals 2,000 minus 25P, what's the inverse demand equation? Inverse demand.
Oh, hold on. What it is? 2,000 minus 25 C. C, 80 minus 0.04Q, number 54. I mean, I could check it again, but that's what I came up with.
And it's not 80 plus 0.04Q? Are you sure it's not 80 minus 0.4Q?
No, because 1 divided by 25 is 0.04. Did you notice this?
I'm waiting for somebody to agree with you.
Am I waiting for?
Mr. Curtis, I have your interim exam. Why do I have your interim exam? Yeah. It must have got lost somewhere.
You recorded it already?
Yeah, I saw where I have it. All right, I'm so.
We are on number 29, but I waiting for somebody to see if they have the same answer. Yeah.
Okay, so.
Okay, hold on, give me 1 second. Supposed to be 25.
How do we go about doing, what's the step by step? So we have our demand equation, QD equals 2,000 minus 25P, right?
So then you know 25P is equal to
Take that one.
2,000.
No, I think I got an extra one.
1Q.
Okay, you take that one, give me that one.
This one the answer?
Right. Since we like our prices to be positive, let's move my 25P over to the left. So I end up with 2,000 minus 1Q.
Yeah.
So then I divide everything by 25 to get rid of this 25, so I end with P equals 2,000 divided by 25 minus 1 divided by 25Q. So P equals 2,000 divided by 25, unless my math is seriously wrong, is 80.
It's correct.
Okay, so that's 80
And
plus
one
0.04.
1 divided by 25 is 0.04 Q.
Mhm.
So it's 80 minus 0.04 Q.
Which was C.
Yeah, see.
All right, fine. Given R equals 8Q, this is my revenue equation, 8Q minus 0.04 Q squared. The level of production that will maximize revenue is likely to be what? How do we find the level of output that will maximize revenue?
80 minus 0.04 squared. So marginal
This is
revenue.
not, what is this?
This is all the way up page. Very back of our books. Okay, page 50, 55, 56. Oh, I did put the rules in your book, didn't I? So I have to reproduce it, whatever. All right, I'm looking at page 59 in your book. In order to derive marginal profit, marginal revenue, and marginal cost, we must use the rules of differentiation.
Yeah, I did do that.
Yeah. Oh, I write
And then you
down
have
the
to
equation.
substitute, 0. Is it?
So, to answer question 30, we need to find marginal revenue, and then set it equal to 0 and solve for Q.
So marginal revenue.
So we have our revenue equation. Our revenue is R equals 8Q minus 0.04 Q squared.
Excuse me, what number are we on? 30? Okay.
I don't think that's, yeah, I don't think it's questions, right? There's an error here. I think that's what it is.
I get 100.
I got B.
B.
I thought I screwed up, but let's see. Marginal revenue therefore would be 8 minus 0.08 Q. And I set it equal to 0, so 0 equals 8 minus 0.08 Q. I like my numbers all positive, so I bring it 0.08 Q over to the left equals 8. So Q equals 8 divided by 0.08. Q max therefore equals to
100.
okay.
B.
So, that's what equals MC.
So given MR equals this and MC equals this, the level of production that will maximize profit, according to Ms. Seymour, is MR equals MC.
So,
So 80.
MR.
Or rather, it's MR minus MC.
Are we working on profit? No, no. Oh, profit.
So, that would be.
You say MR minus MC?
Marginal profit is marginal revenue minus marginal cost. So we're looking for the level of production that will maximize profit. So we're looking for our marginal profit, MR equals minus MC. So I ended with 80 minus 0.08 Q equals 1.2 Q. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and let's collect our Qs. take that negative 0.08 cube, put it on the other side.
Yeah, so that's one.
80 equals 1.2 cube plus 0.08 cube. So 80 equals 1.28, not 1.3, because it's easy to add that 8 to the 2 and get it wrong. 1.28 cube. Yes? So then I need the 80 divided by 1.28 equals Q. What's 80 divided by 1.28?
62.5.
62.5 equals Q. And that looks like $62.5 is not there.
So none of the above.
What if you do 80 equals, not 1.28, but 1.3 Q? So what's 80 divided by 1.3?
61.5.
Okay, so,
Still isn't in the above.
all right. So 31 is none of the above, but the answer is 62.5. 62.5. So if I redo something like this for your final exam, I'll figure out how to do it. No, the question in my mind is, do I give you a straight answer?
I think you should, for everything.
Oh,
The two dots next
I
to
know what I
that,
can
so-
do. I can give you two answers. I can give you the 62.5, well, the equivalent of 62.5. But also I'll give you
63.
the 61 point, whatever it is we calculated when you did 1.3.
That's the trick.
So you want us to round
No,
it
no.
up or not?
No, that's not rounding.
So I'll do the math, it would be right, in other words,
No.
I would do want to.
Okay.
1.3.
No, 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 no.
You mean if you round it off?
80
Oh, no, 1.2,
80 minus 0.08.
If you round it.
We end up
then-
with
That's
80
the
minus
1.08.
0.08 or 0.08?
0.08.
0.8 minus, this is a Q, right?
1.2 Q.
Mm-hmm.
Minus 1.2, no. Equals
Equals 1.2 Q.
1.2 Q. All right. Now, if I collect my Q's, I end up with 80 equals 1.2 Q plus 0.08 Q. Now, we know this actually works out to be
Oh,
1.28 Q. But it's easy enough to make the mistake and make this 1.3 Q.
Yeah, because the 8 would turn the 2 into 3.
No, if you round
It wouldn't.
No, if you round it,
Yeah.
No.
If you round it, the one doesn't
Yeah,
replace, then
yeah.
But then you round it up and down.
Right.
yeah.
And you do this, and then you work it out, you get two different numbers. The first case, you get 62.5. If you do this, you get what, 61 and change. Right. But this is wrong, because this is 1.28, not 1.3. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge on Wednesday if and when you come to it. All right, so question 32 then. 32. We have a profit function of 1/3 Q raised to the power of 3 minus 1600 Q plus 1000.
That's the rule of differentiation.
We want to find the level of output that will maximize our profit. So we need to find marginal profit and set it equal to 0. So how do you find our marginal profit function? We do our rules of differentiation. So what do we do? What do we do with the 1/3 Q? That looks like rule number 3.
Three.
Multiply by 3.
We bring the 3 down. 3 times 1/3 Q to the 3 minus 1. Minus, that 1600 Q just becomes 1600?
Yes.
1600, and that 1,000 falls away.
Right.
So what's 3 times 1/3?
.99.
No.
199.
What's 1/3 plus 1/3? No.
I just do
No, 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 put, not, no, don't, your calculating screw you up. What's 1/3 plus 1/3? What's 1/3 plus 1/3? 2/3.
Yes, got him.
Hold on now.
What's
Hold on now.
Hold on.
1/3 plus 1/3 is 2/3.
Yes, no, that's right.
What's 2/3 plus 1/3?
Yeah,
2/3 plus 1/3.
this is my course,
3/3.
video.
No, that's 1. That's 1.
3/3 is 1. So what's 3 times 1/3?
1. See, you can't be doing
So
this.
why can't use
.99. That's
Because
close enough.
.99 is not 1. .99 is .99.
Only because when you put in the calculator, it's a recurring. That's it.
I don't even know how to do a third in this calculator.
The thing is,
That's why I
when
do
you do the-
.33,
when
because
you
I
want to
know it's
add
a
fra-
third is .33.
when you want to add fractions.
No, a third is .33 indefinite.
Definite, yes.
But as soon as you start putting in 3's in your calculator, it's wrong.
But you get it 3 times 1 divided by 3 will give you 1.
Yes. But when you put .33 in your calculator,
No, I'm not.
it's gonna be wrong.
Okay.
I didn't say 3 times 1 divided by 3 will give you 1.
Yes, that would give you 1.
Yeah, it does.
1 cube squared take away
So
1600.
1 Q squared minus 1600.
So it's now Q squared, because anything
Yeah.
is Q squared, because the 1
1, yeah.
is assumed. Q squared minus,
1600.
so our margin of profit is Q squared minus 1600?
According to this.
Did you do everything you're supposed to do the way you're supposed to do it?
No, what the side is 0.
Well, to get the marginal
Profit
profit
formula.
equation,
Okay,
formula.
if that's what it is, then that's what it is. And then what's your next step?
That is
Seven
a
equals
0 and
0.
so.
Okay, so 0 equals Q squared minus 1600. So Q squared is 1600, so what's Q?
You might put this one on the box, please.
I am sure your calculator can do square roots.
What is what?
Q is Q squared is 1600, then Q must be
1600.
I'm guessing.
What does your calculator say? How to find Q, to find the square root? This you could work out in your head, actually. If Q squared is 16, what's Q?
Q?
400. 4.
So if Q squared is 16, we know Q is 4, so if Q squared is 1600, then Q must be 40. It's just a question of zeros. If you're not sure,
40.
square 40 in your calculator.
Yeah, it's 1600. 40 squared. That's 1600.
And what's it, our 1/3 Q squared? So we have a profit function, it's 1/3 Q to the cube, what's the rest of it?
Minus 1600 Q.
1600 Q.
Plus 1000.
So we know we need to find marginal profit is equal to 0. Marginal profit then, first derivative of this would be 3 times 1/3 Q to the 3 minus 1. minus 1,600. All right. 3/3 is 1q squared minus 1,600. Cleaning this up, this end up with q squared
Minus 1,600.
minus 1,600. All right. So that's my marginal profit. Setting it equal to 0. Q, no. $1,600 equals Q squared. All right, so therefore, Q square root of 1,600.
It's 40.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, there is one very similar and identical to this on your exam. I seem to remember a square root in there somewhere.
Yeah, that's the square root part.
That's the square root.
So remember those.
All right.
See, that's because you're overly dependent on your calculator. Anyway, assume that McDonald's Corp. Operates McDonald's restaurant subject to the following revenue and cost functions for Big Mac sandwiches. All right, our revenue is R equals 500Q. I guess I better do this on the board, hurry.
That's
That's
550.
50 Q.
You had a diminishing return.
If I'm adding diminishing returns, halfway through the semester, but y'all pay for the full semester. So. Okay, where are we? Revenue.
Well,
That thing, what you talking about?
Equal to.
The fact that you don't even,
That thing in the box, which is for them.
50Q,
The thing in the box, the numbers and stuff. Right, that? You can't do talk in the natural tongue. With this kind of you gotta go in the spirit.
alright, so this is where we're at. So, McDonald's has the following costs and revenue functions. Determine the revenue maximizing level of output. So, first things first then, to do that, I need to find my marginal revenue, set it equal to 0 and solve. So I need my marginal revenue. This becomes the first part, 50,
Yeah, 50.
and this becomes what?
2 times
2
2 times 0.05 cubed to 2 minus 1. All right, so this 50, 2 times this,
0.1.
0.1 cubed, 2 minus 1 becomes 1. That's my marginal revenue. All right, deceptively simple. All right, let's get our prices positive, so 0 equals 50 minus 0.1 cubed. 0.1 cubed equals 50. Q equals 50 divided by
500.
500.
Equals 5. Okay, that's pretty simple.
determine the profit maximizing level of output. To do that, then, we need our profit function and set it equal to 0. Or we can do marginal revenue minus marginal cost, and it'll work out the same way. All right.
I put a long week. Yeah, profit is equal to revenue minus cost.
This back, on
I
this is
put a
A,
long week.
Sorry?
on that is A.
This is A. Determine revenue maximizing output. B then, profit maximizing, so All right, we know profit is revenue minus cost. All right, okay, clear my shoulders. All right. It's 50Q minus 0.05Q squared minus 640 plus 8Q plus 0.0025Q squared. Okay, so then y'all should, this should be easier.
There you go. Do it this week.
Okay,
Think of your profit.
so I have 50Q minus 0.05Q squared minus 640 minus 8Q minus 0.0025Q squared. Now let's collect all my terms. Numbers?
It's the same thing we have to do in
Yeah,
May.
that's what I said, that's the.
Plus 42.
Yeah.
And then this.
I end up taking an exam question, put it on your homework.
Plus 42Q.
50Q and
Minus
8Q is
42Q.
plus 42Q. And this, gotta be careful with all of those. So I think it's minus 0.0525Q squared. You do have to be careful because it's easy to get those post-decimal point places mixed up. Okay, so here's my profit. My marginal profit therefore would be, this falls away,
So 42Q.
42Q minus 2 times 0.0525Q 2 minus 1.
It would be just 42.
Sorry?
It would be just 42.
Yes, you're quite right.
Yeah,
Because
not
that falls
42Q,
away.
42. So 42.
So marginal profit therefore would be equal to 42 minus, I don't know what that is,
0.105.
because you remember it from your homework.
No, I don't calculate it, that's
Q. That's no problem, if you remember it from your homework, that's good.
Then you have to set this to 0.
All right, so that's my marginal profit.
not.
Set it equal to 0.
Oh, thank you.
So make that positive, so I have 0.105Q equals 42. So Q equals 42 divided by 0.105, so Q equals,
I would like to
Determine the profit generated.
and determine the profit generated at this level of output.
all right, so now we want to know what profit we're actually going to make.
Because as a stick that inside the profit equation, the first one, 640.
Or you can do long, or you can put it in your revenue and put it in your cost.
No, I put it in the profit
You put it in
equation. I
the
think I put
profit
it in the profit
equation. I
equation.
think
Put in the profit equation.
Yeah.
Y'all ain't no fun.
You know how many times that is? That's a lot of time.
Fine, we put in your profit equation. Yeah, where's my profit? That's it there?
Yeah.
All right, so profit at 400, all right, is equal to minus 640 plus 42 times 400 minus 0.0525 times 400.
22 times 400, so 16,800.
Squared. What's 42 times 400?
16,800.
16,800 minus 0.0525. What's 400 squared? 16,000?
160K.
160000. Okay, minus 640 plus 16,800 minus what's that stuff?
8,400.
84.
Yeah, that right. I remember that.
All right, so we collect. So this is 16800 minus, six,
9040.
you know, you just told me I not make me have to work it out.
Sorry.
Okay,
Answer is 7760.
7,
I know about that. All of that for 10 whole points.
where the hell?
Yeah, this last one.
Where's the formulas?
Huh?
Where's the equations?
Yeah, the equation's in here for this last
They get cut
one.
off.
So we get a free 30 points.
This,
What is that,
Yeah.
Mr. Demerit?
good thing this is a mark.
Huh?
Sorry?
40-40?
Where?
16,000.
9,040.
9040. Can't believe
That's
it.
Free 30 points, yes.
No, this is not gonna happen on Wednesday. Don't worry about that. Can't believe, where's the equation? I know it's on the exam. It must have gotten cut off. Oh.
But this basically would be the one that's not.
So, the point is, between 33 and 34, your last two questions on your exam are with 40%.
Serious?
So all you need, if you do say, I don't know, all you really need to do is the last five, at least the last 5 questions of your exam to get 50%. So if you decide to spend the first 2 hours doing no definitions in the first part of the exam,
How long is the exam for, Mr. Demerit? 3 hours?
yeah, I put it at 3 hours, but I don't know if y'all need all that.
We do.
I don't know.
I bet better too much than
I ain't gonna be here in Ohio. They can invigilate the exam.
So question like 34 is gonna be on the final, is what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely.
What's this?
Yeah, everything you see here is likely the kind of questions you see are kind of questions you would see on your final exam.
We never do this before, construct an plantation.
We never do it.
Speak for yourself, Trey.
Your job is to construct
What do you
a
say?
hatchet plantation.
You know he wasn't there.
So, follow me.
He was in here. With that long
Hatchet
thing, you
Bay
could do with the
Plantation. Oh, with that long thing. Yo, he
With a
was in
bunch
here.
of steps.
He was in here originally, I remember.
In person, must take two classes to do that.
So this price to be charged is the market currency, the market clearing price?
And how would you find that?
I'll have to go back in my notes when I'm looking. I don't remember.
Well, the inverse demand equation is your price equation.
Substitute, oh yeah, hold on.
Substitute.
For the price.
Whatever eventually Q you got, you stick that into the price equation. I'm sorry, you're saying?
Substitute.
She wouldn't know if you're supposed to put number 34 in order.
It would help.
No. That's the answer.
I'm
Oh,
sure.
cause it have A, B, C, D, just put it on the line A.
Yeah, to put the answers on the line.
No, she said you have to just put it on the, like,
No, I mean like.
There's not the K though, and there's an L.
No. Stops the L.
So,
Oh, what the hell over there? Okay.
Oh, we have cost, so we get a high mark.
That's
No
what I'm
cost. I know that was too low.
So these 2 questions can allow us to pass this, I need to get this. Like, all right.
No, passing is what, 60%, not 50%?
I don't need 55.
so,
55?
Mr. Demerit, if we were to do up to number, like how you say, up to, from 28 to 34, that's 50, if we were to get those points, we pass.
No, he said 33 and 34 is all we need.
No, because 30 and, But
No, he
basically,
said
yeah,
that's
there's a
40%.
last five.
That's
Okay.
40 points.
But if we were to get number 1 through 27,
How much is this exam, right?
40%.
30, question 30 is worth 5, 31 is worth 5, 32 is worth 5. That's 15 points. 33 is worth 10, that gives you the 25. 34 is worth 30, that's 55. All I'm saying is that you should not spend so much of your time doing the definitions that you shortchange yourself for time for these longer questions that are worth much more.
But what I'm asking is if we were to do the definitions and perhaps we get them right or we did fairly well on.
You failed.
I understand. You're passing the final doesn't mean you pass the class. The final is where's my,
40%.
40%, that's all.
Can you tell us where we are now, and what we need on the final?
I probably have to email it to
I
you.
need to ask.
If you send me a
Just
WhatsApp or
asking.
something.
Yeah, the overall, yeah,
Because this is, like, I know if, for me to feel comfortable enough to go over this whole paper on the board.
I can't.
That could be a place to make
Didn't we just do this?
I know, but like go over it step by step by step over. I understand some of them, but like these last equations and stuff, like,
What is it you do not understand about the equation?
like this same last set from number, oh no, 29 straight to 34.
All right, so these are, remember what we did, we said, this is all about finding the slope. These apply to two principles, where am I thinking? I guess I could do it here. See, we have two things that we're able to plot. We're able to plot our revenue equation, price times quantity. All right. So we know revenue is P times Q. All right. So we know what we can find the price and we know what quantity is. So we can get those amounts and we can end up with a revenue equation. If we were to plot a revenue equation, it graphs something like this. All right. Where this is the level of our output, our Q. All right, and this is the money that we're going to make our revenue. What we're interested in, clearly, is that we're interested in a level of output at which our Q is its highest point, at its most. All right, and that occurs at the top of that curve. All right, so we're looking for this Q here. All right, for our revenue. All right. On the other hand, our profit is our revenue minus cost. We can get the revenue from this, and the cost, someone will have to give it to us. Usually it's based on our production. All right. So if we were to graph our profit, it will look similar to that, except it has this amount below zero. Because you have your fixed profit you start with. You have to build a building, get a mortgage, whatever it is. So you're stuck with this regardless of how much you make. So this is how much our output is. And instead of revenue, this will be our profit. And again, we're looking for the level of our output at which our profit will be maximized. This is important for us because what we don't want, any other level of production, say we're producing here, that's our profit at that level. So if we increase our production just slightly, our profit will go up, right? So, but if we go too far, our profit falls below our maximum. Same thing for our revenue. If this is our revenue, if we produce here, clearly, if we increase production, and our revenue goes up. And we continue to do that until we get to this point. If we go past this point, our revenue falls less than what it could be. Okay? So all this work is to find this point and this quantity. All of our work is to find this quantity. Right? So two things we know mathematically. We know this quantity is associated with the top of this curve, with the peak. This quantity is associated with this peak. All right? At the top of this peak, we draw a line, what we call a slope. This is where the slope is equal to 0. It's flat. All right? Here, slope is equal to 0. It's flat. All right? No place else on any of those curves is the slope equal to 0. The slope here is positive slope. This is a negative slope, sloping down. All right? So what we're interested in now, one of the things that we know top of this curve, slope is equal to 0. So that's one key factor that we are aware of. We don't know what to do with it yet, but we know that's the case. Second thing we know is that whenever we increase production from one unit to the next unit, we see how much profit changes. Whenever we increase production from one unit to another unit, we see how much revenue changes. All right. This change in revenue is what we're calling marginal revenue. This change in profit is what we're calling marginal profit. This is change in profit divided by change in output. How much profit changes when we increase our production. This is change in revenue over change in output. How much revenue changes when output changes. So when we increase production, how much more money we make. All right? And if we go in this direction, as long as we go in here, every time we increase production, our revenue goes up. The problem is, it goes up, even though we increase production by the same amount, it goes up by a smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller amount. Until we get from here to here, when we increase production, it doesn't go up anymore. In that case, this is where marginal revenue doesn't go up any further. It's equal to 0. Again, at this point here, increase in production is where our marginal profit doesn't go up any further. Our marginal profit is equal to 0. So two things we note. At the top of this curve, the slope is equal to 0, and marginal profit is equal to 0. At the top of this curve, we know slope is equal to 0, marginal revenue is equal to 0. All right. That helps us because now we know the top of this curve is associated with the level of output that will maximize our revenue. The top of this curve is associated with the level of output that will maximize our profit. All right. So we want to find this level of output, and we know two things. We know the slope is equal to 0, marginal profit is equal to 0. All right. Now, our need now is if we can find this equation, marginal profit equation, right, and somehow solve that to get what Q is. Similarly, for this, if we can find this marginal revenue equation and somehow solve it to get this Q, that will tell us the level of Q at which revenue is maximized. Right? So that's all we're trying to do. We're trying to find, using our understanding that the slope at the top of this curve is equal to 0, and at the top of this curve is also a marginal profit is equal to 0, then if we have a case where we can come up with a marginal profit function, I don't know what I did with it, but anyway. So that if we can find a marginal profit function of, let's say, I don't know, marginal profit since 2000 minus, I don't know, 0.2 Q. So if we somehow we come up with this marginal profit function, we can talk how we get this marginal profit function in a second. All right. We know the slope is equal to 0 and marginal profit is equal to 0 at the top of this curve. All right. So we know marginal profit is this function, but at the top of this curve, marginal profit is equal to 0. All right. So what we do then we make our marginal profit equal to 0. So all we've done is that whatever our marginal profit, because this marginal profit will apply along this whole length of the curve. At every point in this curve, the marginal profit will be different because the Q will be different. It's only at the very top of this curve that our marginal profit is equal to 0. So we should be able to solve this, and that will, for Q, 0.2 Q equals 2,000. So Q is equal to 2,000 divided by 0.2. So Q is, I don't know what that is, that's like what, 400? No. 16?
10,000.
2 2s are 1.
10,000.
So once we've understand that at the top of this curve, our marginal profit equal to 0, if you take our marginal profit function for whatever it is and stick 0 in there, we get to solve it to find out what this is. And we can do the same thing for the revenue. Right? So once you get a revenue or a profit function, your goal then, if you have to find Q star, is to get it into its derivative form. And the way we've done that is that we've talked about the rules of differentiation. This is the very back of your book, page 59, I think. And the rules of differentiation says that if you have a function, let's take this revenue function. Revenue function in this case is 500 Q minus 0.05 Q squared. Yes, I keep doing that, don't I? All right. Now, this is nice, but this is not really what you're interested in. You're interested in finding marginal revenue, because you know, once I find my marginal revenue, if I set it equals 0, that'll allow me to find this Q, what they're asking for. Right. So, if you have a revenue function like this, you guys say, I need to make it into a marginal revenue equation. And to do that, it's called taking the first derivative, or differentiation. And the rules of differentiation says that you treat each piece of the equation separately. Right. And rule number 2, do I have to specify? Yes. Called the simple product rule, says that if you have part of your equation that has a number in front of a letter, right, to find the first derivative of it, it's just simply the number. Right. Rule number 3 says if you have a part of your function that has a number, a letter raised to some power, the way you would do that, you bring down the power 2 times, and you subtract 1 from the power. And then the question of cleaning it up, 2 times this is, I don't know, 0.1. 2 minus 1 is 1. Anything raised to the power of 1 is just itself. Right? So you end up with a marginal revenue equation that looks like that. Right? Now that you have your marginal revenue equation, you know now to find your Q star. I know I need to find this point on my marginal revenue equation. That is where the slope is equal to 0. So we then, 0 equals 50, 0 minus 1 Q. Since our output can never be negative, you can't produce a negative amount. I like to make stuff make sense. 0.1 Q equals 50, so Q equals 50 divided by 0.1, that looks like 500. So all we're doing, regardless of how complicated it is, if you can get your equations down to two forms, your marginal revenue and marginal profit equation, because you know when they're asking you to find the level of output at which revenue is maximized, all right, whenever you see it, it's written in that form, it means that I need to find my marginal revenue equation, set it equal to 0, and solve for my Q. Now, it may require you over the next 2 days to just take time and just practice them. Do as many as you can find, make some up if you can, even if the answer doesn't make sense, once you follow the step-by-step process. Okay. All right. Does that help?
It does.
All right. I'm still bummed that we can't do 34. I mean, we got a whole, 30 minutes to play with. Let's see, I can figure one out. That's require more thinking. What about the same one we have here?
And actually, use the one we used last class. I mean, the class that we did this.
No, let's do the same one we have here. In 33. Yes, that's, all right. Let's see how good we are. Here's our revenue equation. Our revenue equation is 50Q minus 0.05 Q squared. Yes? Now, our revenue, by definition, is price times quantity. Right? So that if we divide this by Q, wouldn't we get our price, our inverse demand equation?
Say divided by Q.
Revenue is price times quantity, right? So, if we have revenue and we want P, wouldn't this be P equals R divided by Q?
I understand what you're saying, but this.
All right, trust me on this. All right, so therefore our P would be 50 minus 0.05 Q. Yeah, see, this is where you write it down, because you need that for A.
P is equal to
50 minus 0.05 Q. And in fact, we can take this all the way back to our demand equation. Can we invert this inverse demand equation? See, it's fun to walk forwards, but even more fun when you can walk backwards. For anybody. Okay, so here's our revenue. All right. So now we have the answer for what it is for B. That's our revenue for B. All right. So if this is that, then P would be R divided by Q. All right. So P is our revenue is 50Q divided by Q minus 0.05 Q squared divided by Q. So P therefore would be 50, because that cancels out, and that cancels out, leaves one Q minus 0.05 Q. If you don't believe me, what's revenue? Revenue is P times Q, so we have to multiply this by Q, so we'll end up with 50Q minus 0.05 Q squared. this, no? Oh, y'all just saying, okay, yeah, whatever you said, Mr.
We at that point, Mr. DeMary.
No, y'all wait, see,
We
Just
pass
don't put
it,
nothing
you're
like that,
right.
just don't put nothing like that on
Don't
the
put nothing like,
exam.
give us that, give us all the, just give us it.
okay, but you need this inverse demand equation to answer L,
Mhm.
okay? Alright. And we will use the same cost equation that they have here as well. Okay. So, inverse demand equation for A is P equals 50 minus 0.05 Q. B, my revenue is 50Q minus 0.05 Q squared. Marginal revenue,
What do you say, A is?
P equals,
50 minus 0.05 Q. You can put it on your exam paper.
That's B.
No, B is.
no. Start from A, please.
A is your price equation. Your price equation or inverse demand equation is P equals 50 minus 0.05 Q.
50 minus 0.05.
Yes. So if you're given that, what's your revenue?
50Q minus 0.05 Q squared.
Question 33.
That's stemming from the which one?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sure, I feel
I sure got right now.
I know.
We're doing question 34, but we're extracting the information from question 33. We're using the revenue and cost equation from question 33 to answer question 34.
Okay.
So, what's our marginal revenue?
50 minus 0.1 Q.
All right, we worked it out previously.
50 minus.
When we're doing for
0.1.
question 33, we worked it out. 50 minus 0.1 Q.
Yeah, 50 minus that.
0.1 Q.
All right, what about our marginal cost? Did we work that out previously?
No. That's
Yes,
the one
we
we
did.
duck. And we
You
duck that
skip
because
number,
that was long.
you skip letter C.
Okay, it's 8.
No, marginal revenue is 50 minus 0.1 Q.
I had that for B.
No, B is revenue. Our revenue is 50Q minus 0.05 Q squared. See, I'm talking.
What happened? What do you call it?
She called me Fountain.
Oh, Mr. DeMette, I'm so sorry.
Honestly, it's not an issue.
Trust me, it is.
Mr. DeMette, I ain't gonna lie, sorry.
You don't know what's
Oh, from,
I was so confused just now, and I
from,
went back. You know when the mind go
I
back?
have the
Oh, no,
same
what class
problem,
that was?
money.
yeah.
Yeah, you are, you see? Mr. DeMette, you
Okay.
not, no, don't know offense.
Honestly,
You might not even know who Mr. Fountain is.
You know.
it's not an issue. I
No,
know
he know,
Fountain.
he know. Oh, he know.
Honestly,
Everybody knows Fountain.
it wasn't an issue at all.
Okay.
But back to your question.
Me and I have the same dilemma. I could write it on the board and all. I still from A, because I confused. You was
Okay.
already at D.
No, okay.
A is,
Let's start from B.
okay.
B is our revenue equation from the previous question, and it's on the
Okay.
board.
Okay.
All right. Now, I took that revenue equation and got my inverse demand equation. And the way I did that, I take that revenue equation and divide everything through by Q. So when I divide 50Q by Q, I end up at 50. All right, let's do it again.
Yeah, so no, you giving us it this way?
Sorry?
Right? Are you giving us it this way? Or
No,
the regular way?
I'll give you the inverse demand equation, but we still need to put an answer for A that she can, all right. So we know this is B, right? All right. To get to A, we would normally, this is revenue is price times quantity.
I get that, so you got.
That's how we got this.
P, so for A, you have P equals 50, take away 0.05 Q.
Yeah, the problem is I went backwards. I started
Okay.
from this and went to A
That
as
is
opposed to
my
A to
issue.
B. All right,
Yeah.
so to do this, we said, okay, B, revenue is price times quantity. We want to find P up here. That's what we're looking to find for A. All right, so here we are, revenue equals price times quantity. I want to find P. To get P by itself, P equals R divided by Q.
Okay.
All right. If you don't worry about the algebra, trust me, that's what it is. All right. So P then is my R equation divided by Q. So I need to take this R equation and divide it by Q. So P therefore would be my R equation, 50Q minus 0.05 Q squared. All that has to be divided by Q. All right. Because this top part is R, divided by Q, so I have to divide each pi by Q. All right. This and this cancels out. Sorry. This and this cancels out. It leaves it at 50. This Q cancels out one of these Q, because this is Q times Q. All right. So I end up with 0.05 Q. And that is my P. Or my number A for the answer. That's how I got that. All right, right. But normally what would happen is I would give you A first, and then you work your way down. It just so happens in this case, we didn't have an A, so we went and found what the A was supposed to be. Right. Now we have B for revenue. Can you do the marginal revenue? Using the rules of rules of derivation.
Yeah, we already did that, and, we already did that.
Why call my name?
So you're able to do that,
C.
right? So I guess my marginal revenue is 50 minus 0.1 Q,
Right.
using the rules. If you're not comfortable with the rules, that means you need to go and practice them some more.
Yeah, I do.
All right. For D then, we need marginal cost. Marginal cost, we do the same rules that we did to find the marginal revenue. And that yields what for our marginal cost? 8, no,
I mean,
Eight.
eight, not eight.
plus
Eight.
0.005
0.005
Q.
Q.
The level of output necessary to maximize revenue, we calculated that in the previous question. Wasn't that at 400?
To maximize your revenue.
Revenue.
Revenue maximizing output from the previous question.
Yeah, I have 40.
500.
It was
500.
500.
I have 500.
It was 500.
It was 500.
That's E. We did it from the previous question, question 33.
Yeah, that was 8.
What's 500?
The output that will maximize our revenue.
Maximize revenue.
Now, what we didn't do, we didn't calculate the total revenue generated at that level. Because F says total revenue generated when we're producing 500 units.
All you have to do is put 500 inside
All right,
the
so our revenue then,
Equation.
when we're producing 500 units, is 50 times 500 minus 0.05 500 squared. 5 5s are 25, and that's 3 zeros.
Yes.
Minus 5 5s are 25 plus 4 zeros. 0, 5 plus 25, 1, 2, 3, 4. 25,000. What's this thing?
12,500.
12,5.
So your answer is 12,500.
This?
What is it?
That's for,
So to find the level of output that will maximize our revenue, we know it's 500, and we just stick that 500 into our revenue equation, and we got our revenue is 12,500.
That's a dollar value, right?
Yes, that's in dollars.
What number is this?
This is
That's
F.
Letter F.
17?
12.
500.
What about G? Total cost at this level of output. We stick our 500 where obviously we see Q in our cost function.
Yep. Hold on, please, boy. That would be 640 plus 80 plus 8
All right, so our cost is 640. Uh-huh.
Oh, 8 times 5, 8.
640, what's that cost
Plus-
function?
8Q. You want the equation?
Yes,
Plus
please.
8Q,
Uh-huh.
plus 0.0025 Q squared.
All right, so our cost when we're producing 500 units will be 640 plus 8 times 500 plus 0.0025 500 squared, which is 640 plus 8 fives is 40, 40, 00, plus 0.0025, 5 fives is 25, and 4 zeros. Right. So I got 640 plus 4,000 plus, I don't know what that is.
625.
That sounds about right. All right, so 625 is 1265. 1265 gives me 5265.
Correct.
So my G, I have 5265. So my costs.
Right there, that's 12,500 or 800.
Where are you? That's 12,500. H is what? My profit function, we looked at already?
Yeah, we worked out.
All right.
That was B on, that's B. I mean, that's the first part of B. For number 33, the first part of B, which is negative 640 plus 42Q
Right. 640
plus
plus
42Q
42Q
640 plus 42Q.
minus
mhm,
0.0525
Q squared.
squared, yeah.
Okay, so that's our profit function. So we should have derived the marginal profit function already. Also from that question.
Yeah.
Profit is 42 minus
0.105 Q.
0.125.
105 Q.
0.105 Q, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
So then we should also derive from that same question, output that maximize our profit. That was 400.
That was the 400, right, Nate? That was the 400, right?
All right, so we didn't calculate total profit then. All right, so if we are filling out our table, so far I have, for F, I have my revenues 12,500. For G, I have my costs as 5265. For H, I have my profit function is minus 640 plus 42Q minus 0.0525 Q squared. I got that from the previous question. My marginal profit, also from the previous question, I got as 42 minus 0.105 Q. And for J,
Hold on, 42 minus 0.1.
105 Q.
Okay, J.
And for J, which is the level of output necessary to maximize profit, I have Q equals 400.
What was I?
I is marginal profit equals 42 minus 0.105 Q. So now we need K, which is total profit when we're producing 400 units.
Oh, you missed, what is L?
When we get to L there.
Okay,
You
okay.
don't mistake that 400 in your profit equation.
So to find out the total profit when we're producing 400 units, we take that 400 and put it everywhere we see Q in our profit function.
Negative 640.
Alright, so our profit is minus 640. Our profit function minus 640 plus 42Q
We worked this
Nice.
before, right?
0.0525. Did you work it for your homework? All right.
Oh, yeah, we're just for C. Oh,
Profit
let me see.
at, when we're producing 400.
The
We just
7760,
worked this.
right?
We
The
just worked this
7760,
number.
right?
The C for 33.
Okay, we did it for
Yeah, we
C.
did.
That's the 7760, right?
Okay.
I didn't just look at it.
All right.
Oh, gee.
So we end up with our profit is what, 7,760. For K is 7760. All we need now is to solve for L, and then we can go home.
Yeah.
So price,
All right, so we have our price equation, 50 minus 0.05 Q.
So we have to substitute the
that's the
the
500.
profit. No,
So
it's
we need the profit.
There's the
Let me see, yeah, the profit.
So our profit, we said, was 400.
Yeah, so we just have to substitute it
So,
inside.
right, so price is 50 minus 0.05 times 400. And hopefully it makes some sense. What's 0.05 times 400?
20,
20.
50, 23.
So the price therefore is $30 per unit.
$30?
So LP equals 30.
Okay, I just wanna confirm that D is 8 plus
0.005 Q.
Okay.
If I were you, I would commit at least hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, just for these last 6 questions of your exam.
So I said it again.
If I were doing this exam, I would commit at least 2/3 of my exam time for these last 6 questions.
You can do it, I don't mind. I put my name on the paper. Yes.
You get 0 and I get fired. Now, you getting fired from the institute ain't no big deal, but you getting 0 is a different story.
Oh, man.
Mr. Demerit, are you calculating number 30 again?
Number
This
30.
Q marks thing.
So, you define marginal revenue and set it equal to 0.
Or fine marginal.
So, what's your revenue? Revenue is, they say revenue is what, 8Q?
Right.
minus 0.0.
What does the Q I thought that's 80?
Why would you think it's 80?
'Cause that's what it looked like.
Really?
Because of the line under it, I guess.
It looks, so then, so is it 0.040 squared? Because it's the same thing? Alright, minus 0.04 Q squared, yes ma'am. Same thing? I don't know if you can read it. 15 minus 0.0. All right, so Mr. Curtis, so here's our revenue equation. All right, So you need to find your marginal revenue, set it equal to 0 and solve it. All right, so how do you go about finding your marginal revenue? Whenever you see marginal anything, you know you have to use your rules of differentiation. All right, that's your page, whatever it is, in book 59, I think. It's way in the back. Yeah, page 59. Okay, so the rules of differentiation. All right, you see rule number 1. Rule number 1 says if you have a function like this, and you just have a number by itself in a function, like here you have the 640. See rule number 1. First rule. Oh, okay, I guess I can. Yeah, they can work tomorrow. Okay, I'll bring them on Wednesday. Or you want them before Wednesday? I could just drop them off for school, or I can,
You wanna scan
them, I guess.
I could get them tomorrow.
You show up 2 weeks late with my homework, and then you want it back
That
tomorrow.
was in your email from 2 weeks ago.
You and Naveen can't leave me, man. Give me 1 minute, I come in. I just needed to study. And I also need to know how far I am going into the exam. I'll talk to you about that tomorrow. That's fine? Thank you. Have a good night. Be safe.
All right. So, back to our rules. All right. Where do you find marginal revenue, marginal cost, or marginal profit? The same steps involved. Right? You have your revenue function. The rule 1 says, if you have a function where you just have a letter, all right? I mean, you just have a number. Like how this profit function just have a number in it. To find marginal profit, this number falls away. Rule number 1 says, because we're trying to find a slope, the rate of change. And since a number can't change, when you're trying to find a slope of a profit function or any function with a number in it, the first thing, this number falls away. So, for example, if we're doing marginal profit, all right, first thing, you eliminate that. All right, so your marginal profit, this, all right, so to account for this, now it becomes 0. All right, then you have to deal with these 2 pieces. All right, this is rule number 2 in your book. It says when you have part of your function has a number and a letter. Sorry.
So,
All right, so here, where you
That
have,
would be 8 minus,
right, see, you have a number and a letter. All right, a number and a letter. It just becomes the number. So 10x just becomes 10. 25q just becomes 20.25. 2000q just 200q just becomes 200. All right. So if you have something like this, like how we have here, a number and a letter, this just becomes 42. So this just becomes 8. All right. So now you deal with this other piece. All right. So rule number 3 then.
So if you have a function in which a variable is raised to some power,
Right.
then to find the first derivative of slope of that function, you bring down the power. Bring down, what do you mean, like -1 from that
Okay,
power?
so here, so you have 200q raised to the power 2.
Mm-hmm.
First thing they say, bring down the power, so you bring down that 2. You put the 2 in front. So the 200q didn't change, you just bring down put a 2 in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so they say that's step 1. Where are we? And bring down the power. All right, so we copy the value of the power to the front of the equation. That's what you did with the 2. See, when this was raised to 3, we brought the 3 down. All right, and then subtract 1 unit from the value of the original power. All right, the original power was 2. you brought down to 2, and then you subtract 1 unit from the original power.
Bring down the power.
Right. So you bring down the 2, and then you subtract, and then subtract.
So, Mr. Denard, would that be 2 times
Okay, that's what that means.
0.04?
Okay.
Hmm?
So
So,
that would be
this will be 2,
Two, open bracket, right,
Okay,
okay, gotcha,
and then they say subtract 1 from the original power.
right.
Right. So that's what, so same thing here, 2, and then 1 from the original power. All right. Now clearly you can't leave it like this.
No,
All right. 2 times this thing here is 0.08, right? 2 minus 1 is 1. But anything raised to the power of 1,
It's just Q.
it's just itself. And that gives you your marginal revenue.
9.04 is what? What if you got it, 0.08?
Mhm.
And then you have to say Q,
0.08 Q, okay.
Right.
and you have to divide.
So similarly here, this would be, this 0 falls away, so we are just 42. Anything with a positive, you don't need the plus sign. All right. 2 times this is 0.1050, I think. Q, 2 minus 1 just becomes 1, and that's what you end up with. All right. So again, all right.
So,
So-
Mr. Denard, the next step would be 0.08 divided by 8, no?
No, I think we
No, no.
put this equal to 0.
Right.
That's it.
So once you have this
Yeah.
equation, marginal revenue or your marginal profit, define the Q, you set this equal to 0. So 0 equals 8 minus 0.08 Q.
Then you bring it over.
All right,
equal
you make
sign.
this positive, so then if it's 0.08 Q equals 8.
Q equals,
So divide both sides. Right, so that cancels out. So you have Q equals 8 divided by 0.08. I don't know what that is. That looks like 100.
yeah, 100.
Say 0.01, no, hold on. Yes, 100.
So you have to be able to take your revenue equation, or your profit equation, or your cost equation.
You have to remember this, because this formula, these steps won't be on the exam. You have to remember this with our head.
Sorry?
You have to remember this with our head, right? These steps.
No, this would be part of your what you call it?
Formula.
Formula sheet.
So on the formula sheet, Mr. Denard, you would have something like revenue equals,
No. You should be able to know that revenue equals price times quantity.
yeah,
Right? What you have on your formula sheet, certainly you'll have all your elasticity formulas. Mhm.
because I missed the class. So, Mr. Denard,
Mhm.
this one would be, we'd work out basically the same way as we
Yes.
work here.
So, okay, so this is, okay, so here's your revenue equation, all right? To find the level of production that will maximize revenue, you know you need to find the marginal revenue, set it equal to 0, and solve.
Okay.
All right, so here's your revenue equation. How would you find your marginal revenue? You go by the same rules, right? So, rule number 1, you deal with that first piece. Rule number one says what? When you have a function with just a number in it,
You take away the letter?
but there's no letter here. Oh, yes, sorry, yes. So you take away the letter, so you end up with just 8. All right, what about this piece? The second piece?
You would have to, do the square, bring this down and
Mhm.
times it by that.
Exactly. So you would end up with, your marginal revenue would be 8 minus 0.08 Q.
No, I understand this.
Mhm.
This, I know we got this, but I was asking about the, demand
The
equation.
inverse demand equation,
Mm-hmm.
all right.
Because I hear you mentioning the class, I just want to
Okay,
make sure
so
I have this down.
here's your demand equation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the inverse demand is, you put the P in front.
Mm. So it'll be 25P
Mm-hmm,
equals
mm-hmm,
the 2,000.
mm-hmm. Little bit of Q.
What 32 was? Oh, there it is.
Q.
Minus, because it's a positive.
Minus, oh.
And now, this is 1 cube, so when you bring it over, you have to put a 1 cube. No, you have to put a 1.
Oh, we have to, oh. We can't
Because
go
with,
for
with,
Q?
with a negative sign, you always have to put the 1.
Oh,
Because the 1 is there, you know, it's just that whenever it's positive, 1, we just don't put the 1.
okay.
All right, so, okay, so now, keep going. You want P by itself, so what do?
I have to switch it over now.
What do you switch? You want P by itself. You have 25P.
And I'd have to say P equals 2,000 divided by 25.
Mm-hmm. And what would this?
Then that'd be 1 cube over 25 again.
Mhm. So it's actually, it's 1 over 25 Q.
1 over 25 cube.
No. What I'm saying is that you're dividing 1 by 25.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, you have 1 Q divided by 25. It should be 1 divided by 25 and then Q by itself.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? No. What you have here is P equals 2,000 over 25 minus 1 Q over 25. But it should be P equals 2,000 over 25 minus 1 over 25 Q.
So move this here.
Because technically speaking, you can't divide Q by 25. You can't divide a letter by a number.
Okay.
Okay, so when you do that then, 2,000 divided by 25.
2.
That happens to be 80.
You're not doing all this.
What did, you didn't do it?
Yes.
What's your, sorry.
This is the mathematician.
And 1 divided by 25.
I guess it's about some time for this when I get off the board.
0, 4.
Q.
And then you put that, and that's where your Q comes back. So that's your P.
Oh,
You know, that last game, we gotta wait on.
jeez. I gotta go over this.
Yeah, trust me, you do. And I gotta go to work at 8 in the morning, and I gotta be up late tonight.
I gotta go back.
You said, I can do anything.
I need to be here.
See now, with these graphs, I don't follow them at all.
Listen, I ain't even trying to look at them graphs, you
Yeah.
confuse me.
Them graphs,
All right.
I don't get them at all.
Okay. All we're interested in is that the graph just was really giving you the background of how we got to, well, why we need to put MR equal to 0, why we need to set our marginal equations equal to 0. That's the only way you can find the top of those curves.
But that's what I saying, that,
Okay.
you don't see me try to do the graph on my paper, but
And don't worry about it. Just know that to find that Q star, you need to take your marginal revenue and set it equal to 0 and solve.
Did I write this down? I
Yeah,
think I did.
this would have been for one of those questions.
Because I had to okay. Well, I'll answer to that.
Okay.
But you said there was something we was gonna have on next time, but you said that we had, but you said 19.
I don't remember.
You said we was gonna have on exam.
Yeah, you know that table,
Other than that, everything else.
that was in the
we have
homework. I think it was your homework?
I know,
We haven't had our next exam?
No, it would have been probably on your midterm.
What's that, Mr. Mary? The table thing with marginal revenue, total cost, and that's what you're talking about?
Yes.
Oh, you say that one is too easy.
It's too easy.
Yes, and,
That one's just.
this is not gonna be on the exam, no.
I don't get this, like, I maybe have to get back to you with that.
What do you mean? Okay, these are questions, that related to this. All right, so, for 37, given the original budget allocation, all right, they told you that AB is the original budget line, this
Right.
one.
Mhm.
All right, so,
That or A&E, right?
sorry, this is our original budget line.
Okay.
And they tell you A, B, and these two lines are parallel. That's what they got, A, B, and C, D. All right. So given our original budget line, the highest satisfaction we can achieve from the combination of books and magazine will be represented by a difference curve that just touches that budget line. It will have the XX.
What number is this?
Right. These ones, we can't afford because we're still on this line. So none of these are possible because we're still on this budget line. Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's this.
And so the slope is just minus px over py. Price of x. This is always x. The horizontal is always x. Magazines are $2.50. And the price of y, books are always y. So this is always your y-axis. This is always your x-axis, always. All right, this is minus a half.
What is minus B? X. I just have to go over it again.
All right, so here, after consuming initial combination of goods represented by O, so you start off here, so you're on this line. In order to achieve consumption of a combination of products represented by point R, so you go from this line to this line. Now, these two lines are parallel, right? So the only way that can happen is that if you get more money, you can buy more books and more magazines.
Okay.
Because all it's saying is that if when you had this amount of money, you used to buy 5 books and 6 magazines. Right? That same ratio would apply on this one. You just be buying more of each. And here, okay, this after consuming initial combination going from O. In order to reach consumption P, so you go from this line to P. Right. The only thing that could happen, if you're going from O to P, right, the amount of books you're consuming hasn't changed, right? Because this point is on both lines.
Right.
But you went from, in essence, you went from B to E. You swung out like that. You see that? Right. So that means now, instead of consuming this amount of magazines, you're now consuming this amount of magazines. The only way you can consume more magazines is if the price went down. Because it wasn't as if you got more money, because if you got more money, you'd have gotten more books too.
Okay.
So the only way that can happen is if, you know, the price of magazines went down. And finally, here, after consuming a combination of goods from R, so you start off on R, what might occur to go from R to P? Now, this is a hard one because you go from this dashed line to this straight line. Now, you could argue, right, that your budget fell, which would bring you back to this line, and then the price of magazines fell, which allowed you to swing out. Right. So you're saying it's possible, you can argue, and you wouldn't be wrong, you said, okay, to go from here to here. I end up from R to O, which gets me to that point, and then this happened. That's the point. Right. That would be absolutely right. All right. Or a harder one would go, all right, to go from this dashed line to this straight line. This has to come down here, and then this has to go there. So two things would have to happen. The price of books would have to rise so that you can't buy as many books. But the price of magazines would have to fall so you can buy a little bit more book or a little bit more magazines.
Okay.
It's hard.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Mhm.
To remember that, it is. I'll try.
All right, like I said, at least 2/3 of your exam, focus on those last 5 or 6 questions.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So if you say, okay, I can budget 2 hours for those, make sure to nail those,
Okay.
and then see what happens with the rest.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll do it.
Please come out, show me this. You waiting for me? Oh, you're good. Oh, okay.
I just need to pass the class.
I think everybody wants to pass the class.
Yes.
Mr. Demers, are you able to tell where I'm at so far within the class?
Send me a WhatsApp, I'll check tomorrow.
Okay. Thank
That
you.
means I need to-
Where the pastor is, C8. What is it?
Yeah, 55, I think.
55?
Okay, you
Good
take care.
night, thank you.
Mhm.